Thank you for coming today. I'm Marcus Sigmund. I'm here to tell you about why Ford is better than Chevrolet. Well, some history on Ford Motor Company. It was founded by Henry Ford. He was born in Dearborn, Michigan. He was the first of 6 kids. At the age of 16, he decided to go be an apprentice under a mechanic. And this is what they did back then. It was basically like them going to school because they didn't really have much of an education system. You mostly just worked as an apprentice under somebody to learn their trade. And after being an apprentice, he became an engineer, and then he was introduced to internal combustion engines and started his experimentation with the internal combustion engine. He was not the person to invent the car. He was just the person to modernize it and make it more standardized for the American citizens. But he did invent the Model T, which was a standardized vehicle for America of that time. He manufactured them using the assembly line. The assembly line was a very high-tech way to build your car back then because it wasn't all built stagnantly. It was built moving down a line, each section having their own specialty and doing and just assembling their own part. He actually came out with his first Model T on October 1st, 1910, and that actually happens to be my birthday. Well, not 1910, but October 1st. But soon after the opening of Henry Ford and after the opening of Ford Motor Company, he invented the assembly line. Now, a little history on Chevrolet. Chevrolet Motor Company was founded by Louis Chevrolet. He was born in the Chaux de Fonds, Switzerland, so he was not American born. He originally raced motorcycles and bikes, and then he was introduced to the internal combustion engine also, and just ended up going into race cars as he got older. His first race bike and his first race company was called the Frontiac. He was later noticed by William Durant, which then a couple years later was the founder of General Motors, noticed him and asked him if he would like to build a car for him. And Chevrolet's first car was actually very luxurious. It was not as standardized as the Model T, and whenever William Durant decided that Louis Chevrolet needed to make a more standardized vehicle to compete with the Model T, he sold all his rights to the company, William Durant, because he did not want any association with General Motors if they weren't going to build a luxurious car. Now, the first comparison I'm going to are their trucks. Trucks are I like to call them the backbone of America because they basically can do anything you want them to. They can carry heavy payloads, but their main problem is their gas mileage isn't so great. Now, the Chevy truck has a very high-tech Vortec engine. What it does is it switches from different modes, like a V4 mode instead of a V8 mode, so you're running on less cylinders, which I have found that only happens when you're going downhill, so like it's hardly ever used whenever you're on the gas or going down the interstate. But the Ford F-150 has an option of an EcoBoost V6 engine that gives the truck 23 miles per gallon, and that is pretty substantial for a truck, and you still get the power that you want, and you can still do all the work of a full-size engine, but it's smaller, giving more power. It's just all around a better engine option. here's a little comparison. The Ford F-150 usually comes with a 5.0 liter V8, but they have the V6 package with the 4.8 liter Silverado, and the standard F-150 has 50 miles per gallon in the city and 21 miles per gallon on the highway. Also, the F-150 is lighter than the Silverado, has more legroom, and it is cheaper than the Silverado. So there is almost no reason to buy a Silverado over an F-150 because they just don't compete. My next category are their sports cars. Since the 60s, Ford and Chevrolet have been in a constant battle of building muscle cars, or just an American sports car. The Chevrolet Camaro and the Ford Mustang. The Camaro has a 6.2 liter V8 that competes with the Mustang's 5.0 liter. That is a 1.2 liter difference, and the performance of each one is still the same. So why would you need more engine when they still have the same amount of power? And as you see right here, the only advantage the Camaro has is its engine size, which that's just size, because the Mustang, its fuel economy is better, and it still gets just as much power as that extra 1.2 liter. The Mustang gets 17 miles per gallon in the city and 26 miles per gallon on the highway, compared to the 16 miles per gallon city and 24 miles per gallon highway for the Camaro. The Mustang is also lighter than the Camaro, therefore giving your weight to horsepower ratio an advantage towards the Mustang because of the less horsepower you have with a little bit smaller engine. You're just lighter, so you just end up going faster. And also, although a trunk of a Mustang is not anything at all, it is still bigger than the Camaros. And they are cheaper than the Camaros, so it's also another reason why you should buy a Ford over a Chevrolet. Also, Ford and Chevrolet, to bounce back from the recent economy, have had to create different fuel-efficient cars. Like a hybrid car, it will run on gasoline sometimes and sometimes run on battery when the battery power goes out. And the Chevrolet has a new Chevy Bolt that can run 900 miles between fill-ups. And that is one car that they picked out. And Ford decided that they're going to try to make 3 fuel-efficient cars with the new line of Focuses, the Focus ST, which is a more sportier Focus, the Focus Titanium, which is just like an average sedan car, and then the Focus Electric, which is a fully hybrid car like the Bolt. And here, this is the only reason why you may buy a Chevrolet over a Ford is their full-size family vehicles, their Expedition versus their Tahoe. An Expedition does have the advantage with a bigger engine, but it is more expensive and the gas mileage isn't as well. Also, a reason to buy Ford is for the fact that when the economy came to its low, that Ford did not take any bailouts from anybody. Because with no money plus workers equals unemployment, and without bailouts, unemployment rates would drop hard and into a worse recession. But General Motors and Chrysler received $17.4 billion worth of bailouts to keep them from taking their unemployment cuts. GM at the beginning of 2012 ended up having to drop a total of 45,000 jobs. While Ford still took no bailouts, they only sold a couple plants and they dropped major production line like Mercury, and they sold Volvo. But with the economy drop, Chevrolet and Ford and Chrysler had to put more attention towards smaller cars. And also Ford mortgaged their assets to raise $24.5 billion, leaving Ford in good shape. So really there is almost no reason to not buy Ford over Chevrolet. Thank you for coming today, and have a good night. I'm like an over. I was almost 11.